Hi garden friends, welcome to the channel. I'm Era and this is Gardening on Purpose. I garden in Georgia, Zone 8A. For today's video, I'll be planting out 3 of my bare root roses. This is the perfect time for me to be planting out the bare root roses that I bought from Walmart the other day. And you might have seen a video where I kind of went into detail about the varieties that I bought and the quality of roses that they were. And this is something I've done in the last 3 years and it's worked really, really well for me. So here I have the 3 roses that I'm planting out today. This is Tiffany, Sunsprite, and Blue Girl. I have a bucket of water and I have a container to kind of minimize the mess because these guys here are actually wrapped up in some sort of a sawdust material. I have my gloves and I have my markers. So let's get started. Okay guys, so first up is the Blue Girl. Blue Girl is a hybrid tea, and it says that it's well formed, silvery lilac blue blooms that are large and fragrant. Bush is vigorous, disease resistant, with dark green foliage. Petal count of 30 to 35. Petal count means how many petals is actually on the rose. And I've noticed that the more petal count, the more that the number is, the bigger the rose is. But this is how it comes, guys. You usually take this off. Now, remember, when you take this off, make sure you know which rose you have, because there is no marker on the rose. I think sometimes if you buy other roses, they might have something here in the tag to tell you what the rose is, right? But for this brand, it's just this that's showing you what the rose is. So don't forget to mark it. So it's usually covered with some paper and this material here. And I just throw it off. I just like knock it off. I knock this off and I examine the roots. Looks like they trimmed it before they sent it to us, which is good. And I examine the roots to make sure that nothing's broken, nothing looks like, it's sick or anything. And this looks typically like what I get for the last 3 years. And as you can see, there's new growth. That's always a good sign for Blue Girl and for any rose. And all I do really, after I've done this, I've examined it, I like how it looks, I'm just going to put it in the bucket of water. So here it is in the bucket of water. I'm just going to leave this here. But before I do anything else and I open that other one, I'm actually going to use these forks. Now, when I first did this years ago, I had forgotten to mark it, and I didn't have markers in the yard. And I had to run inside quick and find these forks. As you know, when we buy these forks and the spoons and the knives, and we never use these. We always use the spoons and the forks, and we have all these knives left over. I have a bunch of these. So what I do is I actually mark it into the fork. I mean, not the fork. Mark it into the knife. And then that same thing that I use to unscrew the rose or undo the rose, I'm going to put it around that hole in the knife. And I'm going to put it around the actual rose. Because if I don't, I won't remember this is Blue Girl. Even though there's only 3 roses I'm doing today, like I said in my earlier video, guys, if you don't mark it right away, you're going to forget. Now, I don't do it too thick. I don't do it too close because I don't want to actually impede on the actual rose. I just want this so I can remind myself what rose this is. And I'll put it back in the water. Okay, so that was Blue Girl. Then I'm going to do Sunsprite. And again, I don't have any of these 3 in my yard, which is why I ended up, buying these. So Sunsprite is yellow. It says that Sunsprite has deep, lasting yellow blooms with exceptional sweet fragrance, round and bushy habit, with extreme disease resistant, a petal count of 25 to 30. This is also fragrant. So again, I'm just going to kind of unlatch this little thing that they have here. And then I'm going to open the plastic. And I'm going to examine the roots to make sure they're good. I've really had good luck with it too, so I'm not worried that I'm going to have a bad batch here. And again, I just unfurl it. And again, this is the material. It looks like it could be sawdust. I don't even know what this material is. Then I'm going to knock it off, like off the roots, just knock it off. and I'm going to examine the roots. This is what the roots look like for Sunsprite. And again, you can tell they cut it before they packaged it to send it to us. And again, just kind of examine it. Press on the roots, make sure it's not soft, make sure it's firm. And as you can see, this guy has a lot of new growth, so I'm really happy to see that. And I'm gonna do the same thing here with this guy. Use the fork. I've already marked Sunsprite on the knife. I'm gonna insert it. Now you can mark it however you want to mark it. This is just my little rinky-dink way I've used. And for the last 3 years, the roses that I did with this, if you go back and look at them, that knife is actually still there, and you can still read what the rose is. And again, I try not to impede on the actual rose, because that might actually hurt the rose if you do it too tight. And then I just soak it in the water. Last one I'm going to do is Tiffany. And again, guys, let me know if you have any of these roses. I know a lot of you have, and I really appreciate that. I love the comments about people telling me exactly what roses they have, what variety, how it's doing in their yard, what their luck or their bad luck is with certain roses. And that is definitely helpful to me. So we're definitely learning from each other, because I sure don't know everything. And I've just been gardening for 5 years in this property, and I've got into roses deep, really hard, like hardcore into roses the last 3 years. So here's Tiffany. Tiffany, they said, is very fragrant, deep pink blooms, shaded yellow, long, strong stems, dark foliage, petal count of 25 to 30, and this one is hardy from 7 to 9. Let's see what Tiffany's saying. Just gonna unfurl it. Okay, so here's Tiffany's roots. It's not as, long as, what I like is when the roots are at least 6 inches long, but it's not as long. They cut this one pretty short, but I'm not worried about it, because as you can see all that new growth here, this thing is very much alive. So I'm not worried about it at all. New growth, new growth, new growth, So I'm squeezing on it. So long as it's firm, I know it's good, and I'm gonna put this in the water. Now I know I'm planting Tiffany, so actually I need another knife to mark this one, so I can know which one this one is. But I'm only doing 3, so I shouldn't confuse myself. I'm gonna take all these guys out so I can have it, so I can know what to refer to if for whatever reason it turns out to be a dud. Because sometimes, and this just happens with everybody, no matter where you buy the rose, you might buy that rose thinking, oh, it's Tiffany, and then when it finally blooms, it might not even be Tiffany. But I've had like 99% luck with the ones at Walmart, so I'm not worried. But I use this as a reference for when they finally bloom. I can say, oh, that's the right rose. Okay, so here's Blue Girl, here's Tiffany, and the final one is Sunsprite back there. All right, so I'm gonna let these guys soak for an hour while I go dig the hole and get the area prepped. So let's get that finished. I also wanted to tell you guys that you don't actually have to do this step if you don't want to. Actually, the instructions don't tell me to soak it. I just do it because sometimes it might be too dry, and I never put anything in the ground before I make sure it's nice and watered, and this is what I do. So the instructions didn't actually say that, but I know some folks do and some folks don't. It doesn't seem to make a difference either way. But again, when you have a process, you just stick with what you do and what you know and what has worked for you. So let us take this over to the hole and get these in the ground. Just to give you an idea of where these are going on the east side of the yard and where a lot of the other roses are. So I had just recently planted these 3 replacement lamb's ears on that side as well. But you can see the holes already well, they're not prepped, they're already dug. So there's one, and right next to that hole I have my Oklahoma, which has done really well for me. It's a really nice red. And then there's another hole here. And then after the hole, we have a pink piece that is a beautiful, really nice pink. And then there's a hole right here. And then I have Medallion. After Medallion, I have Gold Medal, could be Gold Glow. And then I have Della Reese over here. So I'm going to put one rose, because medallion is like a peachy color and pink piece is obviously pink. I'm going to put like a contrasting color here. So I might put yellow here. I might put between the pink piece and the red Oklahoma, I might put purple, or I might put the after the Oklahoma, I might put a Tiffany. But again, I mean, I'm just going to make the decision on a whim. It's not a big deal either way, so long as this area gets full sun and doesn't stay wet. Remember, when you're planting your roses, make sure it's in full sun, 6 hours or more. 6 hours is good, but if you can give it more, because roses are not complainers when it comes to the heat. And you know, we have the heat down here in Georgia, and they thrive when it's burning up. So that's what that is. So let me show you how I actually plant these in the ground. All right, guys, so we have the hole here, we have our roses, and we have our trusted soil conditioner. As per usual, you guys know I don't leave home without it. This one here, because I have clay, I do a 50-50 mix in every single hole that I dig in this yard. Sometimes even more, depending on how bad the clay is. Now, on this side of the house, in this particular bed, it's not very bad clay. So let me show you what it looks like. It doesn't even look like it's clay if you go, if you don't go too deep. But this is what my soil looks like on this side. Other sides of the yard is literally red clay, brick clay that will hurt your hand if you try to dig a hole in it. But this one here is not that bad at all. But even with that, and because roses like good drainage, and because they don't want to stay wet, I am still going to be putting my pine bark in here. And again, I'm going to do a 50-50. I'm going to mix it up, and then I'm going to put the rose in. And when I'm done mixing it, I actually want to see the pine bark in the mix, which is a perfect blend right there. Now, first one I'm going to put in here between the pink piece and the Oklahoma, I've decided to put the Sun Sprite, because then I'll have a red, a yellow, and a pink, right? And here's my marker that shows me what it is. And again, make sure that it is not squeezing the rose, because that will actually hurt in the long run. I'm going to kind of loosen it up a little bit so it is not actually touching the actual rose. All right, and then I'm going to put this in the ground, and I'm going to make sure that the bud union is literally, because this is not bad clay, I'm going to make sure this bud union is right on the soil grade. Usually when I plant stuff, my stuff is always 1 or 2 inches above the soil grade, because of the fact that the soil stays wet. But there are 2 things going on with roses. One, you want to keep them dry, obviously, but also you want to prevent what you call, there's a thing where roses get really beat up in the winter, and it kind of kills the top part of things. So you want to protect that too, depending on how you dig it and also how you mulch it. So I'll put the term on the screen when I figured what it is. But I've actually noticed some damage from some of my other roses because I didn't plant what you call the bud union. And the bud union is where they actually meshed the root ball, the root grade, with the rose on top here. So that's one different rose, and here's another different rose that you're actually going to see. But this bud union is where they mesh it together, okay? So I'm going to put this flush with the ground. I like the mix that I'm seeing. Take some out, place it in. Looks like it's too high, so I'm going to dig it a little further. And the more I dig, the more clayey it looks. But this soil is not that bad at all, guys. Doesn't hurt to add some more soil conditioner, because the more drainage, the better. And I put it in the ground. Okay, I like where that is. And I'm going to put it back. Put the soil I just dug out back. And I'm going to grab some more soil. Place it around. And finish it up, top it off with some more soil conditioner. And let me come in close so you can see. Okay guys, this is perfection where this is. You can see here's the soil grade. Here's the bud union. It won't get damaged in the snow and the wind. And I just have to kind of mulch this, pull the mulch close, and then water it in. And just like that, SunSprite is in the ground. Let's move on to the next one. All right, guys. So next up, I'll be planting the Blue Girl. This is what Blue Girl's roots are looking like. Really nice. Really nice. So same idea is that I dig the hole, make sure that the root ball is on, on the same level as the soil grade. But before I do that, I want to kind of take out a little bit of stuff out of that hole and replace that with some soil conditioner. Also, you want to make your hole actually 1.5 times the size of the root ball. Now, these are bare roots, so they're not the root ball. There's no real root ball, right? But still, roses are pretty vigorous growers, so they will catch up with regular roses, with roses that you're actually going to buy in a pot, guys. Now, this one is still not deep enough, but this one is a hefty one too, because I don't want this too high up and to get hurt. So I'm going to dig again, and I'm going to add some more in here. I think that's fine. 50-50 with the rest of the soil. Put that in here. Okay, I think that's good. And let us put that in the ground. Remember, don't bury whatever your tag is. Try not to bury it. Just move that out the way a little bit while I backfill this. And also, I don't fertilize. I don't fertilize my roses until I don't fertilize them when I'm actually planting, because I'm already about to do a fertilizing video that's going to go up probably tomorrow, and obviously I'm planting these today, so those won't be part of the fertilizing action. But that's pretty much that. And then I add some more soil conditioner, and then I add some more of the native soil. Again, make sure the marker is not buried. Always have that there. And then you just backfill, guys. All right, I'm liking how this is. Let's move on to the next rose. So the hole is ready for Tiffany. And there she is. Nice and soaked. Bring this in. I've dug the hole, like I said, and again, I've already put my soil conditioner in there, as you can see. And then I'm going to place the rose in here. I'm going to add some soil conditioner first before I mix it up with the rest. Now, like I said, this soil is not that clayey, so I might be overdoing with soil conditioner, but I prefer to be safe than to be sorry, because I love these roses and I really want them to do well. And this one looks like it's perfectly in line with the soil grade, so I really don't have to do too much with Tiffany though. And again, all I'm doing is backfilling. All this came out of that hole. There's no foreign entities here. And pine bark is a natural organic thing. It's actually a pine bark that is chipped up pine trees, the bark from the pine trees. So it's just a recycling process, goes right back into the earth. And I'm going to put it here. Here's the bud union right there. That is flush, not too high, not too low. And that is Tiffany, guys. It is really exciting. Please tune in as the season goes by to see how these plants do, because they're showing really good progress. When I first bought them, a lot of them just had a little bud, but now I can already see a lot more going on with some of these plants. So all I have to do with Tiffany now really is just pull the mulch, and we are all good, guys. So I'm just going to water these in with the same water I was just soaking them in. And whenever they start leafing out, you'll see them in a tour to see how they're doing. But just for a reminder, these guys here, this one is Tiffany. Right next to the Tiffany will be in Oklahoma. Right next to Oklahoma is where I had put the Sun Sprite. Right next to the Sun Sprite is where the pink piece was. And right after the pink piece was Blue Girl. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your process is when you plant roses, or if you have planted your roses out. We can work our soil 24/7. 1265, like we can actually dig into our hole and plant anything all year round, guys. So I could have planted this early in the year. I could have waited until March, but I'm a creature of habit. I just prefer to do this the last week in February every year, and that has served me well. Let me know what you think. Please like, please share, please subscribe. Remember to hit that notification bell so you can be alerted in all my new videos. I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.